welcome to the Colaeb Innovation Conference. Super excited to have Idan join with RightHear. How's it going today, Idan?
Going well. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a great honor.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So, just for the folks joining, you and I met at a Chase sponsored event that I held up in Columbus, Ohio. And that was almost 3 years ago. So, it's incredible just to see the growth on both, on both fronts. So, um,
Yeah.
I guess for the folks who don't know a little bit about you, maybe you could give us a little bit of your background prior before starting right here.
Absolutely. And yeah, I remember 3 years ago in Ohio, first time in Ohio for me, and thank you to Anthony Reynolds who put us together at the time.
Yes.
Really have great memories from that trip. So I'm Idan. I'm the co-founder and CEO of RightHear. We're gonna talk a little bit about RightHear, but before that, I've studied business and psychology at the Open University in Israel, where I grew up. Had different startups or businesses before right here. None of them really got into the point where right here is right now. So I guess I'm an ever learning, student of business and entrepreneurship. Very proud of the journey so far, but also on the failures that we had before. And the one that I had before right here, the very last one, then was actually a hub. Shared co-working space hub for startups, and that was a great opportunity for me, really, you know, learning as much as possible from this school of great entrepreneurs that was all around us at a time. Great startups been growing through that hub, and yeah, in the past almost 9 years, I'm all into right here, and I guess we're gonna talk a little bit about what we do here in this
Yeah.
conversation. Yeah.
So the hub that you had was that in Israel as well?
Yes, it was in my hometown city called Ra'anana. It's about 20, 30 minutes from Tel Aviv. It was a nonprofit. The story there, very shortly, I had different ideas. I always had different ideas. Now it's so fun with vibe coding. You can actually make them work really quick. But at the time, you were just,
Seriously.
sketching them around. And I was doing that. I was still a student. I was just doing that in different coffee shops. And I found myself staying a long time there. Thought, well, probably there's a lot of other innovators around me that would love to have an office, but don't necessarily can afford that. I went to the city at the time, share with them like this pain. They love the idea of opening up some of their spaces to entrepreneurs, innovators, new business in the local city, and they gave me the space. And I invited all the friends and people I knew there, and yeah, and that still exists. It's a nonprofit hub there for
Oh,
startups, and super proud of the work they do there.
that's amazing. So right here's mission is rooted in really a bold idea, right? Like enabling every person on earth to navigate independently. What moment or experience uh, crystallized this mission for you?
Well, that's a good question. I guess story of my life is that I'm getting lost, right? I have really horrible orientation skills. I'm one of those friends, like when you go to somewhere and it's like, oh, sure, let's go there. It's over there to the right. And like, no, it's to the left. We've just been there 5 minutes ago. I don't have that orientation skills at all, almost. And I was primarily suffering with that during my time in the army. Navigation is a big part of the practice there. Found myself lost many, many times in many weird areas by myself. And the frustration of not knowing where I am and where to go was like really is a big part of my 20s, I should say. And when we started right here with that, um, if we'll try to tackle or address the orientation challenges that I have with those that have most severe orientation challenges, we'll be able to solve for everyone. That's how we thought about the blind and visually impaired community as a primary audience. We're still focusing primarily on this audience, although again, the app is serving a lot of other audiences. Um, but yeah, I think that was our, I guess, main moment. I mean, maybe in addition to that, as we got to learn more about the blind and vision impaired challenges, how they use smartphones and what is available for them. One of the two facts that I always share is that, one of and the two facts that we've learned during that time. One is that you can find Braille signs really everywhere you go. I imagine all of the people are listening to us in the office space you're at right now, in the gym, wherever you go, take a look at the signs there, whether it's the restroom signs, the elevator there, or anything around that. You're probably going to find a Braille on it. So that was the first fact we've learned. It's everywhere. The other
Mhm.
fact we've learned is that over 90%, almost 95% out of the blind community cannot read Braille at all.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a big gap between how many Braille signs are there and how many can actually read them. And that's those who can read them don't necessarily know where they are, because you need to know where the signs are in order to actually read them, right? To touch them.
Hmm.
And since COVID, even if you know to read Braille and you've been lucky to find a sign, you do not necessarily want to touch it anyway. So right there, we were like, hold on, there's a huge opportunity here. Aside of just solving my issue of orientation and a lot of other folks, even more severe challenges with orientation and independence, there's a great business opportunity here we should dive into, and that's how we found ourselves. And fast forward almost 8 years in this business.
Wow. Wow. So you saw a problem that you experienced, and just it's like you had empathy for others and really put yourself in that. That's amazing. Um, so how do you define, I guess, real world accessibility now after 8 years of doing this?
I mean, it's still, it's I was just talking about it with a friend. I feel like we just finally now kind of getting into this like walking in the desert, and we finally now find this fountain, if you will. Like this I think the market is much readier than it's ever been. The awareness around accessibility is higher than ever before. I think if you think about accessibility in general, the it began with the physical, the built environment space, right?
Hmm.
Ramps and curb cuts and things from that sort. The ADA is about 36, 37 years old. That was very much focused on the built environment, right? Ensuring everyone can access buildings. Then 10, 15 years ago, it's been shifted to digital. So website has to be accessible, like this whole digital era, if you will. Websites, documents, all of that stuff has to be accessible. That's very much the main topic discussed in the accessibility rooms, I would say, industry. And now with AI, where digital kind of taking different directions, I would say, still to be unfold. What I found is this back to like the merge between the digital and the physical. Like, how can
Hmm.
we, okay, so now that websites or digital environments can easily be done more accessible, what's next frontier? And I think it is very much in the intersection between the digital and the physical. We've seen that with, things like wearable devices, the Meta glasses, things from that sort that are very helpful for a lot of people with disabilities, and particularly people who are blind or visually impaired. How do we make sure that not only the digital space is accessible for them, but also the built environment, which we started with, is getting there the maximum participation opportunity. So, um,
Yeah. So just fast forward to 2025. Recently, you just congratulations was named
yes,
Product of the Year by
yeah.
Technically Awards. Technically does great work around the country with a lot of startups. Um, what does your team, like what does your team do to recognize this recognition? We all know how hard it is to grow startups. So I guess how do you celebrate, and then also how do you plan on building from this momentum?
Yeah, awesome. First of all, yeah, very, very, very glad for this end of year award. It's like as I told you, it's like a great chord for beautiful music of the past year. 25 was very much in very, very good year for us. We've grew a lot. The team basically doubled. We've extended our seed round from 2 years ago. A lot more like our American foothold has been almost doubled as well. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of great progress, and I think primarily a lot more awareness. We're getting inbound leads, which we never had before. Whoa, businesses are actually thinking about it and do something with it. So that's amazing. So how do we celebrate? Everyone got a hoodie. We send everyone a hoodie
No.
of right here. We're meeting tomorrow. Kind of tomorrow. That's been pre-planned, but it's an all team meeting together with some of our vendors. Really, I call it our cousins of the family. It's not necessarily like, and we're
Yeah.
gonna talk about our summarizing the year, the big wins that we had, as well as the big failures. We had a lot of failures this year as well. And again, I'm
Mhm.
very proud of them. We've tried, we've learned, we've
Yeah.
changed. It's part of the journey, and I like have two or three even slides tomorrow with the team talking about our failures and celebrating them as well. I think it's a key part of the journey. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, so and just double clicking on the expansion, you've doubled your US footprint this year. I think what over 100 global locations from what I saw now currently.
well, 100 in the US, over 2,500 in the world, but over
Oh
100 in the
wow.
US. So we're still new to the American market, but it's been growing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I guess for the founders looking in and they're seeing this, I guess like what were some of the biggest operational or maybe cultural challenges into scaling so quickly that you've
Um,
experienced?
wow. There've been a lot. I'm just trying to think where should I even start, right? There've been a lot. When you try to change the status quo, it's like it's hard. Like, right, the building's been around for many years, and this is the past again almost 40 years. Braille signs were sufficient. And to an
Mm,
extent, it's there. Most people think it's still sufficient. Where again, we believe it isn't. So educating on the problem by how do we educate, like how do we get people to understand the problem so quickly, how do we get the people to care about it? And then I think now one of our main challenges again with all this AI era coming in is how do we get attention at all. There's so much it's become really hard to get any, I think, prospect, any client's attention right now. Doesn't matter what you're selling to whom. There's just too much noise going on in all directions. So I think maybe if I can think about two tips or maybe or three tips. One is patience, honestly.
yeah.
We all want to grow quicker as possible. Um, and when we like to kind of hit ourselves that we're not getting to the goals we wanted like last quarter or this quarter or whatever. It's part of the journey. You sometimes just need to try to look at these dots and in a like zoom out perspective, 5 years sometimes perspective. Startups takes time. It's not. I think in the average, you might know it better, Manny, but I think like it's 7, 8 years or more till exit, like from an initiation kind of day to
Oh, way more than that. It's
more,
way more.
more,
Yeah.
more. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So, but you do get to hear about those stories, where they had this idea and it's 5 months
Yeah,
later they like sold to Google, whatever. They're getting a lot of press
for
and
sure.
and people tend to think, okay, that's how it should go. No, it's not. The statistics show that it takes a long time. So patience helps. I think tenacity helps.
Yeah.
Or you want to call it, I don't know, determination or whatever, but tenacity in a way, like if you really do believe in the core of what you're doing there, and you have some good data to back it up from the market, not just from your own thinking, then patience and tenacity helps. And maybe the last thing I would say is, and we're gonna actually talk about it as a team tomorrow, embracing the change. Now, again, I mentioned that as you heard here like multiple times about AI. I think it brings tons of threats in a way, but also tons of opportunities to all businesses really. And I think like if you're a business owner, entrepreneur, and you haven't had the time to sit down with your team and like, okay, where that actually meets us in our day-to-day work, in our vision, in our product, in all of the above. Um, Not too late, but do it as soon as possible because it's really is there right now.
Mhm.
We've
Yeah.
we made a lot of a lot of changes in the past year from our thinking to the way we work with those tools, and I think we still have a lot more to do. So
Yeah. Well, you said the it's like you don't fail, you learn. So I that's how I look at it as entrepreneurship. It's constant learning lessons, and then yeah, with AI, there are like I for example, I don't believe in building a product in OpenAI. I like protecting my data, my customers' data. I actually
right.
think that's very valuable. However, from a strategical standpoint, I have an accountant, I have a lawyer, I have a marketer, I have a psychiatrist, right, at my fingertips. So I think it's about how you use it and position it that really
Exactly.
could help.
Exactly. And it could be from, again, it could be from the admin or operational stuff. It could be from what type of modules do we want to put to your product, or even content creation, right? When you whatever that is. I'll give you an example on that really quick. I had just before an hour or two ago, I had a meeting with our community manager, Chanel. She's blind. And we were talking about the ADA and how do we bring some more advocacy efforts into this, like, right, how do we potentially, hopefully, one day we get it to be, part of the regulations, right? That Braille signs are regulated. This is why they're everywhere, right? How do we get the legislators, to think about audio format of signage? And that's kind of a heavy topic, right? It's pretty heavy topic. So how do we make it lighter? How do we make it more, sort of say, accessible and easier for people to consume? And then we were playing with Notebook LM, where you could fill it up with a lot of data, articles, essays, law cases, whatever are out there, and it turns into like a 5 minute video, even not necessarily a podcast, which like easy and fun to listen to or watch, and like wow, like turning like doing something like that is just a year ago was almost impossible. So that's a great opportunity, an example of how to leverage those AI tools that are
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah, and I'll just, for anyone watching, check out Replit, check out Cursor, check out Base 44. These are
Yeah,
things that would have cost $500,000, a couple years
yeah,
ago to build, literally. And now we have it at our fingertips. There are some things on the back end, that you're going to have to play around with, and you might eventually need to hire an engineer.
right.
But you could also go to YouTube University and probably figure it out on your own. So like
Yeah.
that's it's just an incredible time. So you're in over 2,500 locations around the world. Big congratulations.
Thank you.
Um, what's a story from a user that has stayed with you and shaped your product decisions?
Wow. Um, again, I think which one to pick. There's a lot, but one that I'll pick is I always like to bring Tally. Tally is one of our first users who, when we were just starting, we were trying to figure out what it is, right? And how, like, we didn't even know how the blind or visually impaired are using smartphones at all, right? It's a touch screen, so
Mhm.
how do they know? There's, just for those of you who don't know, there's a screen reader software in your settings there that treats it all out loud for them. So when we met her, uh, she put it in beautiful words, which it's like giving her a sense of freedom. And we all take our vision very like for granted, right? You cannot really like it's really is hard to wake up in the morning like thank you for that I can see things, right? It's like, it's just we were human, right? But because you do, because we are all sighted and because we see the signs and the different visual cues, because the world is visual. Like,
Mhm.
that's what it is. The world is visual. We can walk around on Earth very much independently, and and I think what's really left with her and with me that she said it's a sense of freedom because these independence, this ability to go places by your own, brings a higher self-esteem, a higher confidence, and a higher, again, as she calls it, sense of freedom. So I love that. Um, the way she put it in word. And I can share, if you like, Manny, I'm happy to share a really short story.
Yeah, I love this. Yeah.
At the very beginning, when I was just, it's because we again building up our MVP and talking about the AI and the others, like you're really much focusing on what is the minimal viable product you want to do. by doing something, you'll learn a ton. So at the very
Mm.
beginning, it was again almost 10 years ago, we were, developing something very, very slim that so basically, just for the audience to understand, our app gives audio descriptions of the space around you, in your own language and in your own pace primarily for people who are blind or visually impaired. And we do that primarily in indoor environments using different technologies, including beacons. So Bluetooth beacons, it's a Bluetooth devices that we set at the building. So when we started, we went to like a theater there, like in a big auditorium. I think it was 500 seats or something like that. And we placed one of our beacons in one of the seats there, and we asked Tali to find her seat. She went into the auditorium. There was a group of students there at that time. They were all like, we kind of asked her, "Hey, do you mind being a bit more quiet?" Well, because she was trying to listen to all the descriptions for her phone. Be more quiet. We're trying to test something here. If you'll be able to find her seat. And they were like, "Oh, sure, sure. Let's take a look. Let's take a look." And she was sitting just one seat next to it. Okay, not in that seat, but one seat next to it. And everyone was clapping. Oh my God, it's like so close, right? It's not like
Mm.
in the seat, but very close. And for one moment we were like, oh my God, we made, we got a piece from, from the moon. And then the other one, and that's where I think our lesson was like, hold on, if we want her to find her seat in real environment, we would need to place a beacon in all seats. That's like 500 of them. There's no way any theater on earth would pay us for this. All right. And we
Yeah.
don't want Tali to pay for this either, right? So
Mhm.
we're stuck. What do we do, right? And then obviously we were worried, but it was a great lesson to learn from her as well. Like, do you really need that in the seat, or if we just give you the row number, would that help? And she said, you know what? Even just at the entrance, just give me direction. I'll get it. Like I'll count the rows and I'll count the seats and I'll find it. Oh, so we didn't even need to put it on the seat, right? So
Yeah.
it's one of those things. It's only when you go outside of the building, meet your users in a real environment with your MVP, something that you've created. It's only then when you can really learn real market feedback. So that would be helpful to share.
Yeah, no, talk to your customers, everyone. That's most important. And kind of staying in the same realm, which partnerships, have been, the most fruitful, whether airports, stadiums, universities, Fortune 5,000 companies, any shout outs you want to give right now?
Well, yeah, I mean, I will give a shout out to Rick from Schneider Electric. He is the senior accessibility manager there. Schneider Electric is a Fortune 500 company. Their headquarters are in Boston. So he's the head of accessibility there. He heard about us. He's a blind person himself. He brought it to his management. They listened, and they brought us into their headquarters. We made it accessible. There's a beautiful video they created about it. And again, we made
Wow.
his workspace environment much more um, accessible and easier to use. And I'm mentioning this for two reasons. One is because I love the advocacy in action there. He took the initiative of like, okay, I want my workspace to be more accessible. I'm doing things in order to make that happen. Whether in this case was for himself, but I love the different areas where people doing it for others as well. We have a lot of stories around that as well. So if anyone
Mhm.
that's listening here knows anyone who's blind and want to make his day, you can still do that and by just creating awareness around this. So that's one reason. And the second one, the last time I checked, and it might be not very accurate with my numbers, Manny, but the unemployment rate uh, among the blind and visually impaired community is like somewhere around 76. So like the very big majority are unemployed. And for me, if we could, and when you look at it at why is that? I mean, obviously they can do amazing things, right? Especially nowadays. One of our software or one of our top senior software engineers advisors, right? And he's been with our team for years. Is blind himself. So he's a software engineer who happened to be
Wow.
blind, right? Not just using
Inside
apps, but
story.
developing apps for years.
Yeah.
And when you ask people like him, what's your most challenging part at work? They say two things. One is finding things around, because it's a big office complex. I don't know when the campus, how do I get from the office to the kitchen, whatever. And the
Yeah.
other one is the lack of awareness that's, their surroundings are having. Like they don't know I can do those things, and therefore they're not letting me do those things. So for me, the workspace is something that um it's close to my heart. I believe specifically the blind and visually, from what I've seen and experienced over the years, they're the best problem solvers on earth. Like they're living life of finding solutions to daily problems day in, day out. So their ability to solve problems is unbelievable. And again, we have them on our team some. So um yeah, that's one story there.
Yeah. Well, Idan, it's incredible work what you're doing. I'm really looking forward to continuing to stay in touch and just seeing how 2026 evolves for you. Um, Make sure everyone you connect with right here. Follow Idan. He's on social,
Yep.
and I really appreciate your time. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Manny, thank you for everything you're doing. I love the work you're doing at Colaeb and in general. And I'm if everyone want to talk, I'll be right here. So right here is RIGHT-HEAR, like hearing.com. And I'm also on LinkedIn and the other stuff. So thank you for the opportunity today.
Appreciate you.